Have you ever checked your bank account and felt that cold knot of dread in your stomach? Seeing just enough money to survive the week, maybe less? That was my reality. Tuition fees were a storm cloud on the horizon. Rent was a ticking clock. My friends were constantly making plans, going out, and I had to keep pretending I was too busy or had other plans. The real reason? I simply couldn't afford a $10 meal. That was me, a broke student with sky-high ambitions and a painfully small bank balance. But that's not where the story ends. Today, I'm going to pull back the curtain and show you exactly how I saved my first $1,000 as a broke student, step by step. And let's be clear, this wasn't about some sudden windfall. It wasn't because I magically won a prestigious scholarship. It wasn't about having rich parents to bail me out. And it definitely wasn't because of some lucky crypto gamble. It happened by understanding and applying one powerful game-changing concept: behavioral finance. Because here's the secret most people miss. Saving money is not about being a math genius. It's about understanding your own behavior, your habits, your psychology. Most students, and maybe you're one of them, think they don't earn enough to save. We tell ourselves, I'll start saving when I get a better job. Or, there's just nothing left at the end of the month. But the real problem isn't our income. It's the invisible strings pulling our wallets. It's the unconscious spending patterns driven by deep-seated psychology. The first of these is present bias. This is where the small pleasure of today feels more important than the greater good of tomorrow. That instant coffee feels better than the long-term security you could achieve by saving. Your brain tells you it's just one cup, but that one cup every day slowly eats away at your future. Then comes social pressure, the pressure to keep up, the FOMO or fear of missing out. You see your friends with new gadgets going on expensive trips and you don't want to be left behind. Under this pressure, we buy things we don't actually need. The third enemy is lifestyle inflation. As soon as our income increases even a little, we immediately increase our spending to match it. And finally, emotional spending. When we're sad or stressed, we try to feel better by shopping. But what if you could cut those strings? In this video, I'll break down the exact system I used, a clear 5-stage blueprint, to go from being constantly broke to finally building my first $1,000 safety cushion. More importantly, I'll show you how you can replicate this entire system for yourself starting today. So let's begin. Let's start with the uncomfortable truth. When I was broke, I didn't have an income problem. I had a clarity problem. I was financially flying blind. I had absolutely no real idea where my money was actually going. And here's a fundamental rule of life. What we don't measure, we can't improve. Step 2. The $1,000 blueprint. Saving $1,000 feels overwhelming when you're broke. When your account balance is already close to zero, $1,000 feels like a mountain. Your brain immediately goes into stress mode. It feels heavy, it feels far away. And when something feels too big, most people avoid it. So I broke it into micro targets. $1,000 divided by 5 months are $200 per month. $200 divided by 4 weeks are $50 per week. $50 per week cross-earn roughly 7 per day. That's it. Suddenly it didn't feel impossible. It felt tactical, structured, manageable. Instead of trying to conquer $1,000 all at once, I focused on just $7 today. This is called goal decomposition, a powerful behavioral strategy. Big goals feel intimidating because your brain cannot clearly see the path. And when the brain doesn't see a clear path, it delays action. Smaller daily targets feel achievable. Instead of saying, I need $1,000, I told myself, I need to win today. Just 7 saved or earned. $7 is not scary. $7 is a decision. Some days it meant skipping food delivery and cooking at home. Some days it meant avoiding impulse snacks or unnecessary coffee runs. Some days it meant selling old textbooks that were collecting dust. Some days it meant doing freelance work online late at night. The rule was simple. Today must produce 7. The shift was psychological. I stopped thinking in terms of sacrifice and started thinking in terms of daily wins. Small wins create momentum. Momentum builds confidence. Confidence strengthens discipline. Which brings me to step 3, increase income creatively. As a student, your time is limited. Classes, assignments, exams. You cannot work full-time without burning out. But your resourcefulness is not limited. I realized something important. When you're broke, you can't budget your way to wealth. Cutting expenses helps, but there is a ceiling. You can only reduce so much. There is no ceiling on earning more, and even slightly. So instead of obsessing only over cutting costs, I focused on expanding my earning capacity. I started small, tutoring juniors for a few hours a week, editing resumes for classmates applying for internships, helping classmates with assignments by guiding and explaining concepts, selling unused items online, books, old gadgets, things I wasn't using. The goal was not to hustle 24/7. That leads to burnout. The goal was to create small income streams that specifically fed the $1,000 fund. Every extra dollar had a job. It wasn't random money, it had a purpose. Then I did something important. I opened a separate savings account and named it Freedom Fund. Not just savings, not extra, freedom. This is mental accounting, a behavioral finance concept where we treat money differently depending on its label. When money had a defined purpose, I was far less likely to spend it. If it stayed in my regular account, it felt available. Easy to swipe, easy to justify spending. But when it sat inside Freedom Fund, it felt protected. And here's the key rule. The $1,000 account was untouchable unless it was a true emergency. Not a sale, not a trip, not a random craving, a real emergency. Because when you constantly break your own financial rules, you lose trust in yourself. And once self-trust disappears, discipline collapses. So the system was simple. Break the goal down. Win the day out, expand income slightly. Protect the fund strictly. Step 3. Defeating social pressure. This was the hardest part. Not the math, not the earning. Not even the saving. When you're a student, your biggest financial enemy isn't rent. It's comparison. Friends ordering food every other night. Weekend trips that suddenly become normal. Birthday celebrations that turn into expensive events. New gadgets showing up in everyone's hands. And slowly, without realizing it, you start measuring your life against theirs. Behavioral finance calls this herd behavior. We copy others because social belonging feels safer than financial discipline. Being part of the group feels good. Being the only one saying "I'll pass" feels uncomfortable, and discomfort is powerful. Your brain would rather protect social status than protect your savings. I had to reframe something in my mind. Temporary sacrifice is not permanent deprivation. Not joining one dinner doesn't mean I'll never enjoy life. Not upgrading my phone doesn't mean I'm behind forever. Not spending today doesn't mean I'm poor. It means I'm strategic. Whenever I felt FOMO creeping in, I forced myself to pause and ask one question. Will this purchase matter in 5 years? Not 5 days. Not 5 months, 5 years. Be honest with yourself for a second. How many things you bought 2 years ago still matter to you today? Most purchases don't survive time. They only survive impulse. If the answer to my question was no, I redirected the money straight to my Freedom Fund. That one mental filter saved me hundreds of dollars. History shows how powerful herd mentality can be. Look at the dot-com bubble in 2000. Investors poured money into tech stocks simply because everyone else was doing it. There were no real profits, no strong fundamentals. Just hype and fear of missing out. When the bubble burst, billions were wiped out. The same psychology applies to students. If everyone is spending, you feel pressure to spend. If everyone upgrades their phone, you feel outdated. If everyone travels, you feel like you're falling behind. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Looking rich and being financially stable are two completely different things. Financial independence starts the moment you detach from the herd. Once I stopped trying to look impressive and started trying to become stable, my savings accelerated. The pressure didn't disappear, but my response changed. I also added one more layer of protection. I automated transfers. Every time money came in, whether allowance, freelance income, tutoring, or part-time work, 20% immediately moved to the Freedom Fund. No decision, no debate, no delay. Automation removes willpower from the equation, and willpower is unreliable. If saving depends on how motivated you feel that day, you will fail on low-energy days. But if saving is automatic, it happens whether you feel disciplined or not. That shift made consistency effortless, and consistency is what builds results. Step 4 and last, momentum and identity shift. Something unexpected happened around $600 saved. Nothing dramatic, no celebration, no big announcement, but internally something shifted. Until that point, I was operating from survival mode. I saw myself as a broke student trying to save money. Someone struggling, someone forcing discipline, someone constantly resisting temptation. But around $600, that internal story started to change. I stopped seeing myself as a broke student trying to save. I started seeing myself as someone who saves. That difference sounds small, it isn't. It's the difference between effort and identity. Before, every decision felt like friction. Saving felt like swimming against the current. It required constant motivation, constant reminders, constant self-control. But once my identity shifted, saving stopped feeling like an action I was forcing. Started feeling like something I naturally do. This is identity-based behavior, a concept backed by behavioral science. When your actions align with a new identity, consistency becomes easier because you are no longer fighting yourself. You're reinforcing who you believe you are. If you see yourself as bad with money, your behavior will unconsciously prove that belief true. If you see yourself as disciplined, your actions slowly begin to match that identity. So ask yourself honestly, do you currently see yourself as someone who saves or someone who tries to save? There's a big difference. Saving wasn't painful anymore. It became proof of discipline. Each transfer to the Freedom Fund wasn't just about money. It was evidence. Evidence that I follow through. Evidence that I delay gratification. Evidence that I can control impulses. And that evidence builds confidence. Month after month, small, boring, consistent decisions stacked up. No dramatic hustle, no viral income spike, no overnight transformation, just repetition. And finally, after months of small, boring, consistent decisions, I crossed $1,000. There was no fireworks moment. No dramatic music playing in the background. It wasn't life-changing money, but it was mindset-changing money. That distinction matters. $1,000 didn't suddenly make me rich. It didn't solve every problem. It didn't eliminate financial pressure completely. But for the first time, I wasn't living in constant low-level fear. Fear of a medical expense. Fear of a broken laptop before exams. Fear of an unexpected trip home. That $1,000 created a buffer, and that buffer created psychological safety. Psychological safety changes how you think. When you're not operating from panic, you make better decisions. You take smarter risks, you negotiate differently. You focus better. You stop reacting to money and start managing it. And here's what most people don't realize. The first $1,000 is harder than the next $10,000. Not because of math, because of identity. The first $1,000 forces you to build discipline from scratch. It forces you to say no when it's uncomfortable. It forces you to act consistently without visible results in the beginning. It builds the habit. After that, systems take over. The daily tracking, the automatic transfers, the income awareness, the spending filter. Once those systems are in place, growth becomes less emotional and more mechanical. The first $1,000 proves you can change your behavior. And once behavior changes, numbers follow. So let's summarize the exact step-by-step plan. Not theory, not motivation. A clear structure. Track every expense for 30 days. Awareness first. Before you change anything, you need visibility. For 30 days, write down everything. Every snack, every ride, every subscription, every small swipe that feels harmless. Because money leaks don't feel dangerous in the moment. They feel normal. Awareness exposes patterns, and once patterns are visible, control becomes possible. Break $1,000 into daily and weekly targets. Stop staring at the mountain. Shrink it, divide it. Make it measurable. When you turn a large goal into daily numbers, you shift from anxiety to execution. A big goal overwhelms. A daily target activates win today. Then repeat. Cut low-value expenses ruthlessly. Not everything deserves your money. Some expenses add value, many don't. The key word is low value. If something does not meaningfully improve your life, your health, or your growth, question it. Every dollar saved from low-value spending becomes fuel for something bigger. Create small income boosts. Tutoring, freelancing, selling unused items. You don't need a dramatic side hustle. You need small intentional income increases. A few hours of tutoring. Editing. Selling things you don't use. These are not glamorous moves, they are strategic moves. Small inflows compound when directed with purpose. Open a separate named savings account. Give your money a label, give it a mission. When savings sit in your regular account, they feel available. When they sit in a separate named account, they feel protected. Purpose changes behavior. Automate transfers immediately. Don't rely on motivation. Motivation fluctuates, systems don't. The moment money comes in, a percentage moves automatically. No debate, no emotion. Automation removes friction and builds consistency without daily effort. Resist herd pressure by thinking long-term. Everyone spending does not mean you must spend. Everyone upgrading does not mean you must upgrade. Short-term belonging often destroys long-term stability. Ask the 5-year question. Filter decisions through time, not emotion. Focus on identity. Become someone who saves. This is where everything changes. If you see yourself as trying, you struggle. If you see yourself as someone who saves, your actions align naturally. Identity drives consistency. Consistency drives results. Now pause for a second and ask yourself, if you followed this exact system for 6 months, where would you be? If you applied awareness, daily targets, small income boosts, automation, long-term thinking, and identity shift, what would your financial life look like 1 year from now? If you're a student watching this, remember, you don't need a high income to start. You need intentional behavior. Money problems at a young age are rarely about economics. They're about psychology. Spending is emotional. Comparison is emotional. Impulse is emotional. Discipline is psychological. The earlier you master your financial behavior, the more powerful your future compounding becomes. Because $1,000 invested wisely in your early 20s is not just money, it's momentum. Momentum changes confidence. Momentum changes decision-making. Momentum changes risk tolerance. And momentum combined with discipline is how ordinary students build extraordinary financial lives. Most students wait for more income. Few students build better behavior. Which one will you be? If this video helped you, share it with someone who thinks saving as a student is impossible. It's not impossible, it's behavioral. And once you control your behavior, you control your financial future. This was just the blueprint. What you do next determines everything.